I said last Friday, Matt Roth, one of Tower's running mates in that 014, was our honorary captain, and his talk contrasted Matt's pretty greatly. I can assure you that. You put a little more thought into yours. Matt was efficient and great. That was tremendous. Appreciate that. Great to have you here. Now, I'll tell you, Tower's an unbelievable story. He shared that with you, a lot of it, and I don't know if we've ever had a football player that had his swimming prowess. You know, he was an outstanding swimmer, as he mentioned, and that was one of his dreams, certainly. I'm glad, too, that you transitioned to football, figured that out, and I'm glad you ended up at Iowa for obvious reasons. On that 014, we had 3 guys, actually, that were walk-ons that started on that team. He mentioned Bruce Nelson, Dallas Clark from the 02 team, championship team, and Tyler's one of 3 guys. Sean Considine on the back end, Keith McMahon was an offensive lineman. So all 3 of those guys were huge contributors, and I tell people, when you look at the impact of guys that have walked on in our program, there's no way we win a championship that year or in 02 without those individuals, and there are a lot of other guys too that contributed, but yeah, just an amazing story. It's all because he came in and worked hard, did a great job with his opportunity. A couple of things about Tower, you know, he swam in high school. Now he's training for a marathon up in Chicago in October, I think he said. So that's a little bit unusual for a defensive lineman. Jared Kloss has gotten into that too. Jared's about 220 right now, 215, and climbs mountains and does marathons, all kinds of stuff. So that's unusual. And the other thing too, I'll say, you're the first player I've ever talked to, a former player, that's ever called a bowl game a vacation. You remember that day down in Orlando when it was about 33 degrees, raining? Remember that practice where it was colder than hell? We had 3, it was perfect weather for linemen, yeah. We had 3 pretty rigorous days, and there weren't a lot of smiling faces as they headed off to Disney World or wherever you go. Orlando, it wasn't a vacation. So we were all scared to death. We were playing a pretty good team. So that's a first. I'll give you congratulations on that. It's been great having you with us. I'll talk about that 014 a little bit. Father Ed is just, he is a fixture. Obviously in Iowa City, and also one of our big guns. So I appreciate you being here. We need a little good momentum. So outstanding. Also, ironically, Tower's done a little coaching, 3rd, 4th grade football coaching, and Clay is one of his former players. Is that correct, Clay? All right. All right. Congratulations. We'll keep an eye on you. Definitely. As always, thanks to the Johnson County Eye Club for putting on this event. Gary and the whole group do a wonderful job, and we appreciate that. Band and Spirit Squad, you guys got off to a great start. The left side of the room, boy, dominated the prizes today. So outstanding there. And then most of all, thank you to all of you for being here and being part of this. So I really appreciate that. Certainly last week was a disappointing loss for everybody. I know our fans are probably more disappointed than anybody, and it's always interesting to me. I don't get out in public until Wednesday nights typically. I got to do the talk show down at Carlos Kelly's, and then this is my second venture really out. And we can really feel a difference after a loss. I know we go through the same thing as players, coaches, certainly. It is. It's disappointing for everybody. And one thing about being a coach or a player, I guess, is we have to turn the page and move on to some given point. We typically do that, try to do that on Mondays. We go through the tape on Sunday, look at what we could have done better, what we can learn from those types of things, try to make those corrections on the field. And we send the guys home, and we really encourage them to flip the page and move on to the next one on Mondays. And it's always easier said than done, certainly, but that's part of what you do when you're involved in football, certainly. Both teams competed hard last week. They always do in that series. That's a given. And it really turned out to be a pretty good defensive ball game. I thought in our second half, I could really feel our defense starting to gel a little bit, and they were playing with confidence. Not so much in the first half, but I thought in the second half we started to run around a little bit better, being more decisive, and it really seemed like they were gelling a little bit. That was certainly encouraging, and then offensively, obviously, we've got some work to do, and I think that's well documented right now. So probably the biggest things that stood out to me, really in contrast to the first week, we didn't take advantage of our opportunities last Saturday, and that really came up in the second half, be it the time we had first and goal on the 3-yard line. James Morris made a fantastic play. We had 2 linebackers make outstanding interceptions in the game, and James brought that ball up to midfield. We had an opportunity there, a very real opportunity to move the ball down and get points, and couldn't do that. And then certainly the last drive. So those things are critical in any ball game, certainly critical in close games, tough contested games. And for us to be a successful team, we're going to have to do better in that area. So that's kind of where our focus has been over the past week, working on improving, making some strides, and I think we've had a good week of practice. We're certainly going to need that. We play a very good football team this weekend. Our captains this week remain the same. We've got James Vandenberg, James Ferentz offensively, Micah Hyde and James Morris defensively. Those guys are doing a great job out there in the field. And a guy that Tyler mentioned, Bruce Nelson, will be our honorary captain this week. And Bruce is a great story in his own right. He was on the team when we got here in '99 and was a walk-on tight end. I think he's third, fourth, fifth team, somewhere in that ballpark. Dallas Clark was third team outside linebacker. And after a couple of days, it just seemed like Bruce was a guy that was very aggressive, had a great attitude. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but really were impressed with some things he was doing. So we asked him to move to the offensive line. And long story short, he ended up starting. His first ball game was our first game, the Nebraska opener in '99. Bruce started that game at left tackle, played the whole year at left tackle, the next year at left guard, and the next two years at center as an All-American player. Just a fantastic human being, outstanding young guy, and just had a great career. I'll never forget after Bruce's career, he won the award up in Marshalltown. They honor a walk-on each and every year. And so he won an award when we were driving up there. And I said, before that Nebraska game, you must have been a tough night's sleep for you. He said, no, I slept like a baby. I said, is that right? He says, yeah, I couldn't sleep for the 3 weeks prior to. I was so tired. I slept great that night. And I think he had to play Vanderbosch the next day. So Bruce had an outstanding career. It's going to be great to have him here. And also, thought it was fair to have Bruce be our captain. The 2002 team is celebrating 10th anniversary of the championship, so it's going to be great to have a lot of those guys back. They started trickling in town yesterday, and a lot of them will be in today, so we're excited about that as well. UNI's got an excellent football team, as always. They've won an awful lot of games traditionally. I'm going back to my recollection, going back to the 80s. Certainly, over the last 12 years, the coach probably have won 100 games. And they've also gone on the road and played very well, basically anywhere they've gone. And most recently, they went up to Wisconsin and ended up having a chance to win the game. Somewhere our game, it was a 5-point ball game. They had the ball midfield, ran out of bounds at the end in the fourth quarter. So they did a heck of a job traveling up to Wisconsin in front of 80,000 fans. And I think, as we all know, based on 2009, they're going to come in here ready to go. They've got an excellent football team. They're very well coached. And I don't know that we played a team that played any harder in 2009, and we expect that same thing this week. They look like the same kind of outfit on the field. So they're an excellent football team. It ought to be a real competitive game, a tough game. We look at it as a real challenge, and I think that's just the nature of college football. Along those lines, too, it just kind of ties in with Tyler being here. I think it's kind of fair, and that's one thing about football we try to keep in sight. In 2004, we started out 2-2, and Tyler remembers this well. Probably played about as poorly as we've ever played down at Arizona State. We just thoroughly got beaten in every area. It's one of the worst defeats I've ever been involved with at any level. We came out of there with our tails between our legs pretty good. I think that made us 2-1. Traveled up to Michigan, got beat again, turned it over 5 times in that ball game. So we're sitting there at 2-2, and wondering about a lot of things that were going on. But I guess where I'm going on this whole thing, the only answer for anything, I think, is you keep working, keep your focus where it should be, and keep working. And the thing about our football team right now, we've got a young football team. The thing I'm impressed with is the way they've worked. They've had good focus. We've got a lot of young guys that have to grow up on the bottom end of the roster, and they're doing that right now, and that's a process. But we've got a lot of guys at the front end doing a great job of leading and performing very well. So it's a matter of getting things coming together, and the only way that happens is you keep pressing, keep working, and stick to what it is that you think is going to help you be successful. And that's what the team's doing right now. So we're eager to get back on the field. There's no guarantees in life, certainly, but the whole goal for us is to improve each week and go out and compete as hard as we can. And that's where we're at right now. Guys have done a good job. They've had a good week of practice, and you never know how things are going to unfold. You look back to 2004. There weren't many easy victories in that string. I think after we came out 2-2, we ran the table, and a lot of nail biters, a lot of ones maybe we could have, should have lost, all that kind of stuff. But you find a way to win. That's the interesting thing about the season. You never know how it's going to unfold. You never know how people are going to develop and grow that type of thing. And you know, the only answer you have is just keep working. So that's what our team's doing right now. We're eager to get on the field tomorrow. It's great to be back in Kenny. Always great to be back, and looking forward to an opportunity to play an excellent football team. So we appreciate you being here, and appreciate your support as always, and looking forward to seeing you in Kenny tomorrow. Thanks, and have a good day.